Good morning, everyone. Hi there. This is Jenny from Elephant Room Consulting, and we have Kylie Mowbray Allen, my digital BFF from Hello Media, and you're tuning in to Bite Size Business, the live podcast and show that helps small business owners, get clarity and insight to grow their dreams. And today, I'm very excited that we have a special guest, Brad from XYZULU.
Welcome, Brad. We're so pumped to have you here with us.
Thank you. Nice to be here again.
And how are you this week, Kylie?
Yes, I'm, aside from my fogging up glasses, because it's all of a sudden got very warm, I am super great. Jenny, what about you?
I'm super great. I've had a crazy week. I've been in Perth on Monday, Tuesday, and then Sydney, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, delivering some workshops, and they're all over the place. I'm currently sitting in a hallway in UTS in Sydney. So it doesn't open very often.
So you're jet sitting around the country. So we've got someone coming in from Sydney today. We've got Brad coming in from Melbourne, and we've got me coming in from the North Coast of New South.
I love that.
Joining in Zoom. I love it. Very, very good.
It's amazing.
Today's a very exciting topic where we're talking about protecting your personal data and how to make really, really good kick-ass passwords. Because obviously there's been a bit of hoo-ha in the press lately. There's been a whole lot of people very distressed about this big fat Optus hacking. I've got clients that have been affected by it, some to a very extreme degree, some to a really very minor degree. And so it's really interesting to see it all unfolding. So yeah, that's why we've invited Brad to come in and chat with us today, because he is an expert in all these things. And you know what, whenever I'm on a Zoom with Brad, we always will have a quick chat about passwords, because it really is such an important thing. So yeah, so glad. Thank you for joining us today, Brad. It's great to be able to have this really important conversation with you.
Thank you again. Yeah, not to downplay the anxiety that this has caused to people, but if it wasn't Optus, it would have been another company at some point. So not pinning the blame all on Optus, because most of these issues actually happen not necessarily due to companies having lax security, but the weak link is usually humans. So if people have done something to allow the system to be accessed by a third party, perhaps accidentally or something. Anyway, so
Optus then, huh? that it was them.
Yeah, it's true. And if it's not Optus, it'll be someone else the next time.
And I think that's the point, isn't it? Is that, you know, it's the kind of best laid plans of men and mice, right? It's that doesn't matter what you do, there's always some vulnerability that your systems are going to have. So we're talking about passwords today because it's one of the best ways to kind of protect your system and you know, avoid that kind of both bots and kind of human error. But I think there's value in recognizing that at the end of the day, and it is, you know, humans who have to manage the systems.
Yeah, it's true. And passwords, we got used to them. I guess that started with ATM and PIN cards, but we've moved on from there. We still have PIN cards on our ATM cards. But yeah, passwords have become overwhelming for people, perhaps, but also they've become very important. And we now have moved on. We don't just have passwords, we have multi-factor authentication. And there are even some other things we now have available. If we have time, we could get to them too.
Brad, I've had some chats with clients over the past couple of weeks about passwords in particular. And one person said to me the other day, oh, I've got no problem at all because I don't store anything anywhere. I have it all in a notebook. And in fact, really, I just have one line because I have one password. So I've got a perfect system. And I'm like, ooh, I think that's the first no-no is same password, right?
Yeah, actually, that's the worst thing, the same password everywhere.
Yeah.
If your password manager is a piece of paper, it's still better than having the same password everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just a no-no. And unfortunately, you know, you think about this Optus situation next week, someone else, if your password is compromised at one of those places and you use the same password for your internet banking, well, join the dots.
Yeah.
So that's it, fundamental. You have to have a unique password for each of your services.
Well, have you got some tricks for us then about how to make that easy? Because I know you have, because you've definitely had for that, but yeah, for those that listening, it would be great.
Yeah.
If you-
Well, there's some passwords that you need to remember. I'll be honest with you, I have 2 passwords that I remember. I remember the password to my password manager, and
Excellent.
I also can remember the password to my most important online account. But personally, apart from that, all my other passwords are random passwords, and I use a password manager
Like
to
a
manage them.
Z279*5, that kind of thing,
Just
where it's generating it for you.
yeah,
well,
I
you
can't
never
copy it. I can't memorize these passwords. So random passwords are great. You need a password manager for that. But there are ways to get strong passwords that you can remember. And you know, it's not too subjective, but one of the most common ways that people mention is having 3 or 4 words. And these words don't have meaning to other people, but they may have meaning to you. You can join the words with a dash, and you can add numbers or letters to that. So that makes a very strong password that you could remember. So think about that, joining 3 words, the blue frog, and you can put some numbers. That makes quite a strong password. But you still have the problem with you don't want to use that password at more than one location, more than one login.
One of the companies that I do work for actually has that, and they have a random word generator, and essentially you can go in and you can click the button till you have 3 words that you might be able to remember, but they're completely randomly generated. So it might, as you said, it might be frog, beach, kryptonite, whatever, but it's completely different. But they're words that you can remember, but they're so random that it's unlikely that someone's going to bring them together. But one of the changes that I've noticed, Brad, particularly lately, is the fact that we can now put spaces in passwords.
Yeah, it's not new actually. Well, it's not new, but some places didn't support it. But as far as I know, I haven't run into a place that doesn't. Yeah, so this is all good, but you know, we're not trying to defeat the criminal mind. We're trying to defeat the criminal to running computerized software to do these things. So, you know, again, you want a memorable password, but let's not undermine that by using the same password in more than one location.
Mm. And Brad, you just mentioned earlier about a password manager. So Jenni and I both use the same one, which is sitting here on my phone. I use it all the time, literally so many times a day. And the one that we're using is LastPass, but I know you said that you were using 2, so LastPass and 1Password.
Yes, but that's not necessarily, I use one as my main one, and the other one is for interoperability with customers, because sometimes people will share a password with me, and again, it's another topic. We really don't need to share passwords, hardly ever. But yeah, if there is a real need to share a password with someone, you can use a password manager to share that. So that was the reason why I've got another account in LastPass.
And
but
actually, I've
it
started
seemed,
to do that,
yep.
Brad. I've actually started to do that, Brad, particularly when working on websites with clients or in systems, whether we're doing kind of business setups, so whether it might be MailChimp or whatever it is that I've been using the password manager to share the link, so they don't actually see the password, but we've set up that a sub account so that we still have different passwords, so I can manage the account, they can manage the account, but we actually don't share a password at all, because that then allows that sort of second layer, so we're not kind of moving passwords around the world.
Yeah, that's excellent. And yeah, unfortunately, sometimes, especially a new customer who doesn't, you sometimes have to have someone share their password with you. But ultimately, we don't want that. We don't want to have to share passwords. And if you do share a password with someone, that password must be unique. So again, unique passwords, and you're not going to be able to manage unique passwords without a password manager. And not wishing to market for any companies, but the 2 leading ones at the moment seem to be LastPass and 1Password. But there are others. Bitwarden is a very common one, another one, Dashlane. And there's probably a number of other reputable password managers. Apple are in the game, Google are in the game too. Not necessarily having a standalone product, but built into Google Chrome, there's a password manager. Built into all your Apple products. They also have what they call Keychain, but it now supports passwords and multi-factor authentication.
What do you think about those ones though? So, you know, you've typed something in and automatically that Google Chrome for passwords has come up, or your Apple one's come up and said, keep this one. So,
Look, it's better than nothing.
right.
And I've helped some people, friends, family, and, you know, signing them up for their login to 9 network or whatever, and, you know, your email address, and now you need a password, and, you know, they're going to tell you the usual password they've used, if you know what I mean. So at least using the Apple keychain or Google Chrome, you know, you can have a unique password generated for them there. So I'm not against it, but I don't store my passwords all over the place, just in one place.
Yeah, right. So, because I have heard you say before that you don't recommend those ones.
No, but
because
you've got to have unique passwords somewhere. So start somewhere.
Yeah.
It's better than nothing.
Okay, cool. That's good to know.
So Brad,
But
you've talked a couple of times about multi-factor. What is, I know a lot of people are saying, do I need to do this 2-factor or multi-factor authentication? And particularly off the back of the Optus, I know I'm no longer a Telstra customer, but I got an email from Telstra telling me what I should do with my passwords, which I found really interesting, saying that they haven't been breached. But they're talking about 2-factor and multi-factor. So what is that, and why? What's the value or the added value of us using that?
Yeah, so this is very important. And this may be new information to some people. You know, we've been flogging the dead horse about unique passwords. Unfortunately, people haven't done it yet, and password managers too. So multi-factor authentication, it's essentially you put in your username, then your password, yet before you log in, you have to provide something else. The most common thing people are aware of is an SMS code. However, that is not very secure. It's better than no multi-factor authentication. But take, for example, this Optus issue. If someone were, and I'm not saying I've heard that it's happened, but if someone were to be able to take over your phone number, which was with Optus, they could log in if they knew your password. They could log in because now your phone would receive this SMS code, and now they've completed, you know, the second factor authentication. However, SMS is not really the standard for multi-factor authentication anymore, and hasn't been for a while. So next up from SMS authentication is using an authenticator app like Google Authenticator. There's a myriad of them too, Microsoft Authenticator. They essentially do the same thing. It's a rolling code, cryptographically generated, tied to the time on the server. So every 30 seconds, usually you'll have a new code. We've been using these for nearly decades. Banks used to put out a physical keychain that generated these codes. So that's the next level up, an authenticator app that generates these codes. And really the gold standard after that is one of these. I don't know if you can see it clearly, but it's a hardware key. There's a few manufacturers. The most common one is Ubico. They call these a YubiKey. And this is a physical device that you have to plug into your computer to generate the multi-factor code.
Wow.
When Google started to enforce this on their employees, they have not, I think it was, don't quote me, but I think it was from 2017, they enforced the use of this instead of SMS codes or authenticator apps. They've not had a single account breach among their staff. So this is supported by Google, Dropbox, all of the big companies, and that is the gold standard in multi-factor authentication. And so I put in my username, I put in my password, and then it says, please insert your hardware key. I put it in, and then I'm logged in.
And Kylie and I are having a little kind of geeking out moment here, Brad, because for us, I mean, particularly when I travel overseas, one of the biggest things that I find is using the multi-factor, but when it has been linked to my SMS or my phone, you can't always get it depending on the service, depending on how long it takes for them to actually, my roaming to kick in. And sometimes I've been overseas and I haven't been able to get that SMS at all. And so that sort of little dongle that you carry around really does make it, you have to have it on your physical person. You've got to be present when you're doing it. So, so where do we find something like that?
Yeah, you can buy them directly from the company, even though they'll ship them from Europe. You can buy them directly from the company. It's about $50 US. There's a few different varieties. $50 US for one that supports NFC, which means you can just tap your phone on it.
Mhm.
And you can buy them off Amazon here too. They ultimately come from the same place. If people are interested, I plan to buy 8 or 10 of them, so I'm happy to pass that on to people. Yeah, if they're interested. I just had an offer to get a few at a good price. So yeah, we can talk about that afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, just an illustration quickly. You know, when you think about your house, all of us have got a lock on our front door, and probably that's the door that we secure the most. So what is your front door? Well, probably if you use it, it's a password manager. So password managers support the use of a hardware key, LastPass, 1Password. So you've got to put this key in when you log into your password manager on a new device. It doesn't bug you once it knows, you know, you are logged in legitimately. So that's your front door. And then you think about the back door, you know, that might be your Google account, and because that's your most important online account. And don't forget, also got the access to your domain name registration. Like these are doors to your house.
Mm.
So think about them first. Unique password. Don't use SMS authentication. Use an app or a hardware key for those doors. And you know, growing up in South Africa, I remember crime was bad, and it still is. And it's a strange concept in Australia, perhaps, but we used to have internal doors that had locks on it. And so when we left the house, we'd lock the internal doors, and each had a different key. It's very tedious. But you see, if someone broke in, they were confined just to the room. So think about your passwords like that. You want to lock the outside doors. And if there are some internal doors that you can secure with multi-factor authentication, the gold standard, you're going to have a far more secure environment. So even if someone got in the back door, well, they wouldn't proceed any further. Yeah.
You've had my brain buzzing,
I
Brad.
know.
Feeling
Sorry.
on many levels about different things that I've really got to, because I've always felt like I'm pretty on top of the password thing, and you know, especially using a password manager. But we have a code for our front door because my husband can't use his hands, so he can bang it with a knuckle to do the code. But we've had so many various carers through the house that get given that code. I mean, through the years that get given that code. Never updated the code. So
yeah, well,
how
it's
that
not.
would have to stand up with our insurance if something happened.
Well, I can't speak for insurance companies, but yeah, the illustration doesn't match perfectly, but you know, it is easy online to change your password. It is easy to implement multi-factor authentication. It is easy to use a password manager, especially once it's set up. But yeah, it takes a little bit of mental effort to say, I need this. And you know, this Optus thing perhaps gives people the push.
Yeah, that can only be a good thing, right? If it actually
Yeah.
brings it to the forefront and makes us go, well, we've got to do something about it. One thing, Brad, I found really interesting when I've been listening to some of the stuff that's been going on with it, is that there are people that haven't used Optus in 10 years, and they've been contacted and told that their data has been shared. So passport numbers and things like that. Deeply concerning, wondering why they actually still have that information. And as you said, it's not just Optus. So what can we do, would you suggest, that we can try and tighten up all of our stuff?
Yeah, like, you know, your license number and password. I know people are stressed out about this, and I hope that my license number is not freely available on the internet. But if you've ever traveled, your password, your passport number is, you know,
Everywhere.
especially in certain countries, it's everywhere. So there's not much you can do about that. And we just hope companies like Optus, Telstra, Vodafone, the ones that control access to your phone number, do their due diligence to authenticate people before they port numbers and so on. I've heard of some companies, banks too, at the very least, will start a team or a Zoom call with the customer and ask to see their original document. It's clever. It's better than saying what is your license number and you know, read it to them. Now they're actually seeing that you're in possession of the document. But yeah, there's regulations about this. You know, we don't really have any control over that. So what do I recommend? I recommend that you use unique passwords. You use a password manager and you protect your most important accounts with the securest possible method of authentication, and that's multi-factor authentication.
Yeah.
Very, very good tips.
You may not be aware of this, but Apple has forced, and not in a bad way, Apple has forced multi-factor authentication on people for a long time, and we just deal with it. You get a new Apple device, and when you log in, one of your other devices gets a code. That's multi-factor authentication. So yeah, just deal with it. This is you protecting yourself. And unique passwords, you just got to deal with it.
And I just cannot say enough how much I agree with you on the password manager compared to having a book. Because what happens if you lose the book? What happens when, look what we've had in the last few years of floods and fires and all of that. You can't control your book, can you? And then you lost everything. So that password manager, I've got it on my computer, I've got it on my phone, I've got it on my iPad. And really the most important thing is having that like obviously face recognition, but also making sure you've got that master password down somewhere safe. And then you're only having one password tucked away.
Yeah, that's true. And can I just mention, hopefully not too technical about these password managers, because people will say, hold on, I'm storing all my valuable information on the internet. The bad guys just need to get that file from somewhere, and they'll have all my passwords. These services have been independently audited to verify that this is the case. So whilst your passwords go from your iPhone to your whatever, Samsung Galaxy tablet or whatever, whilst they sync across, the information is always encrypted. Now, we could explain that, but your encryption key is not held by the company that provides you the password manager. So that means whilst they could access your file, it is meaningless to them without the decryption key, which you don't know what it looks like, but your device has this. And when you authenticate on your device, that key is provided to decrypt the information. So what I'm trying to say in summary is it's a lot more secure than using a piece of paper. A piece of paper is more secure in the sense that someone's got to get into your house to gain access to that, but everyone can read. So once they've got that, they see all your passwords.
Yep.
But in the case of a password manager, even if your information was accessed, it's illegible, unreadable. That they don't get your passwords.
Brilliant. So definitely, I can't remember how much I pay, but it might be like 120 or something a year. So
yeah, there's even cheaper plans. Yep.
Every penny to make sure you're secure. So Brad, I know that you have created a special offer that our listeners and our viewers will be very, very keen to take you up on. So do you want to share a little bit about that?
Well, after thinking about this subject, and not just here, a lot of people have been contacting us about this Optus thing and what matters. And so security is like a big topic at the moment. So this is a good time. And we are a network partner of the Australian Cybersecurity Service. So we have access to information, not necessarily information that's available to the public. And some of the information that we have access to helps us to really see which are these doors that you need to protect. So what we're offering to people is a service where we'll do it remotely with you. Again, we don't want your passwords, but we'll do an audit of your passwords with you. We're happy to help you set up a password manager. It can help you if someone gives you a hand along the way. And we're also happy to help you with multi-factor authentication, at least on some of your major accounts. Again, we'll do it remotely. It's your devices. So we've set up a product that we're offering, or an item that we're selling. I'll send the link in there, in the chat here. And people can sign up for that. And we'll give you our time remotely to do an audit of your password privacy and to make sure that you've done some of the basic things to protect yourself. And then after that, perhaps you'll be equipped to better protect your digital assets after that.
So brilliant, Brad. And can
Amazing.
I just say to everyone, $100, only $100 to get this audit going with Brad on Zoom or Google Meet or whatever he's doing. So that's exciting. So my team are right now pumping it out on all the different places that we're live in the comments. The link is there. So yeah, jump onto that because that's going to be a game changer. And thank you so much, Brad. That's
Yeah, and
super
if someone's interested in the multi-factor devices, I'll also get a link before we finish to show you the actual device I'm talking about. And I can get a few of them for you at a slightly discount price. So if
Jenni and I have got our hands up first. We're like,
okay,
Yes.
yes,
so
come on.
that probably means I've got 6 left. But that don't let that prevent you from getting them if you need to and should do. Yeah.
Awesome.
So
That's
I just shared the link to those as well.
That's super awesome. Thank you so much.
And I just want to encourage anyone who has a team also, and you've got a business who you're running your password manager across multiple people, or you've got a large number of team working on your systems or your computers or your business. Definitely book in this audit with Brad so you can actually see how your passwords are being managed across all your team to make sure that you're not actually, you might be thinking everything's secure, but you have other people also accessing your data, making sure. So this audit is really important to make sure that you're managing your passwords across your business, not just yourself, really effectively.
Yeah, it's really important. And if a staff member leaves for whatever reason, you don't want to have to change every single password. So you should have your business set up in such a way that you can manage this, and we can certainly give you some advice with that too.
Definitely.
That's a really, really good point. We've just had a team member leave, and really all we needed to do was remove her pass access. That felt really, really good. It was much simpler than in the past when we've had that situation. And then we've had 2 new team members join, and that's a simple process too. Just give them access to. And I have mine set up LastPass where I've got a family vault and also a business vault and a personal vault.
Excellent.
So, yes, Brad, I got a gold star.
You did you did it. Good work.
Super proud. So thank you so much for joining us. That was just fantastic. I feel really pumped that I'm doing some things right and really disturbed that I'm doing others wrong. So I'm going to change some things up over the weekend. So I hope I'm going to set out a challenge to everybody listening and say, get onto it this weekend. I'm actually
just make a start. You'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I'm the first person booking in for your service, Brad. And even though I'm feeling confident about what I'm doing, I'm also knowing a password audit would be absolutely brilliant. So thank you so much. We've had some great comments that have been coming through. Thank you, Brad. Priceless information. And another one, awesome information, mind blown. So thank you.
Thank you, Brad, for joining us.
Thanks again for having us.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing everybody next week for another chat about, here we go. Somebody else has just shared saying very timely after Optus. Absolutely. So if there's one positive that's come out of that for everyone, it's to actually look at what we're doing and how we're doing it and what we're sharing. So
exactly.
Yeah, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time and we look forward to chatting business and all things goodness next week. So everybody have a great Friday. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks,
Share
Holly.
all the comments. Thank you. Bye.